Hey everyone, this is the Whispers of the Wind, and I got a request. I can't remember their name right now, but I will be putting a link to their channel. Who requested me to do an English accent video. So yeah, I'm doing it now. I thought it would be a good addition because since it's a get to know video, I'm actually trying to get you guys to get to know me. Sorry about the background noises, those are my sisters. Selena! If you can, you want to meet them.
Selena, hello. Why are you putting that necklace in your hair?
See, that's the number one, sister number one.
Right, come on.
And that's sister number two. So, yeah.
Okay, darling, come on.
Bye, Mina.
Bye.
Bye, Mina.
Go see. Come on, go.
I'm going to sleep. Okay.
Okay, those are my sisters. And yeah, they're really cute. As you can see, they don't really look like me. One kinda does, but one kinda doesn't. So yeah. So sorry they kind of interrupted. They just came in. Firstly, I'm gonna be reading this book. In my English accent, of course. I can go back to the American one, but I think you guys want me to do my English one. So see how easily I can change. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing this ASMR video, this book, and I'm gonna be reading some stories. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. So, I'm sorry about the background noises, they're getting to sleep and they usually are kind of hyper this time. So, this book is an Osborne book, and I just love Osborne books because they do so many beautiful illustrations. They're not complicated, they're very simple. That's what I love about it. See, anyone can draw this. Well, not anyone, but like it's a simple drawing. It's if you practice it, then you can do it, you know, and that's what I like about it. So yeah. So this is Stories from the World. Stories from Around the World, and it's illustrated by Linda Edwards, and it's retold by Heather Amory. Yeah. So I'm gonna read to you the back of the book. So, traditional stories from all around the world are gathered here in this magical collection. Tales of brave heroes and heroines are retold alongside tales of wonderful magic, of strange and faithful creatures, and of how things first began. These fascinating stories are narrated in such a way that young listeners and young readers will find them easy to understand and enjoy. Decoratively and imaginatively illustrated by Lena Edwards, this book will be a source of interest and pleasure for the whole family. So that's a nice little back description there. I deleted it a bit loudly because my mic's not really picking up everything. I'm gonna do some tapping first. Just keep an image of the book. If you can see that okay. I know it's upside down, but I have to turn it my way like that I can read it to you guys. So stop tapping. just a map of the world with some little funny images, and they label all the countries that they're going to be in the story. Here we have some images. So here is that little Indian doll, and here is this Puss in Boots, as you all know from Shrek probably, but the original story comes from France. So we have the contents page here, 2 pages actually, and so we're just going to be choosing 4 stories that I'm going to retell you. Unless you guys want me to do more, just please comment down in the description. Now, so I've chosen already the stories I want to do, and one's going to be on the first page, which is going to be pretty good. It's Strong Magic, a story from Australia. And then we're going to do The Singing Toad, a story from Mexico. Then we're going to do Nail Soup, which is from Czech Republic. And then we're going to do Clever Asia from Morocco. Actually, we're not going to do the Nail Soup. We're going to do Stealing the Sun, a story from Africa. Strong Magic, a story from Australia. Long, long, long ago, there was a boy who had no mother or father. He lived with his tribe and was often very naughty. "That boy," they would mutter angrily. "He's a lazy good-for-nothing who never does as he's told. He won't work and he's up to all sorts of tricks." When the dry season came, there was no water in the streams, rivers, and ponds, and the people had to walk a long way to the boreholes for drinking water. The boy didn't like walking. He stayed in the camp, and when the water carriers came back, he would beg them for a drink. They always gave him one, but soon the time came when they were really angry with the lazy boy. "Go and get your own water," they shouted, and they hid their water bowls. One morning, when the men went off hunting and the women and children went to dig for the roots to eat, the boy was left alone in the camp. He played around for a while, but began to feel really thirsty. He looked in the usual places for the water bowls, but they weren't there. Eventually he found them hidden under a bush, and had a good long drink. Then he thought of a naughty trick. "I'll hide the water bowls where those mean people won't be able to find them. Then I can have a drink whenever I like," he said to himself. One by one he carried the full water bowls to a small gum tree. Quickly he climbed up the tree and hid the bowls among the leaves. He was just putting the last one on the branch when, by some strong, strange magic, the tree started to grow. Up and up the boy clung to the branch as the tree grew taller and taller, until it was huge. When it stopped growing, the boy was right at the very top with all of the water bowls. In the evening, when everyone came back to the camp, they all wanted a drink, but when they looked under the bush they found only a few empty water bowls. "It's that boy! He's been up to his tricks again. Where is he?" they grumbled. They looked around and saw the huge gum tree that only that morning had been little tree. At the top they saw the boy with their full water bowls. "Bring down the water at once," they shouted. "If you want your water you'll have to come and get it," the boy shouted back. 2 young men began to climb the tree. When they had almost reached the boy, he wailed and moaned with fright. One of the men stretched up to grab him, but, as the boy tried to get away, he slipped and fell down the tree. Bump, 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 right down the ground. There he lay for a moment, bruised and aching. Then he scrambled up the gum tree again to escape from his angry tribe. Some people began to climb up after him, but by some strange magic, they saw him start to change. Thick fur covered his body, his ears became like black buttons, and his nose black and shiny. He looked just like a bear. He had turned in the very first koala. From that time on, all koalas have lived in gum trees. If they are thirsty, they eat a few leaves instead of going down to look for water, and if anyone tries to climb their tree, they moan and wail, just like that naughty boy. So, I hope you liked that story. Sorry it was very whispering, but yeah. Now we're going to do The Singing Toad, which is page 45. Okay. Singing Toad, a story from Mexico. Every morning, an old farmer and his 3 sons would walk out in the hot sunshine to see how the corn was growing in their fields. Soon be ready for harvesting, the farmer would growl. One morning, when they looked at the corn, they saw that someone or something had torn up the plants in one corner of the field and eaten all of the ripe cobs. "Who's been here in the night?" the farmer shouted angrily. The 3 sons searched around, but they couldn't find any footprints or any sign of the thief. "Tonight you must watch the field and catch the robber," the old farmer said to his eldest son. That evening the eldest son picked up his gun and a corn cake and set off for the field. On the way he came across a well. Sitting by it was a toad, singing, "Be quiet! You have a horrible voice, and that's a horrible song. Be quiet now, or you're frightening away the thief I've come to catch," the eldest son ordered the toad. "Please give me a piece of your corn cake," croaked the toad. "No, I want it all," shouted the eldest son. The toad opened its mouth and sang an even louder and a longer song. "If you don't be quiet, I'll make you," shouted the eldest son. He picked up the toad and dropped it into the well. Then he walked away and sat down at the edge of the cornfield. All night he sat by the field, but heard and saw nothing. In the early morning he was amazed to see that more corn plants had been torn up and the cobs eaten. He had to go back to his father and tell him the bad news. "You must go this evening and watch the field," the father said to his second son. Just as the sun was setting, the second son took his gun and corn cake and walked to the field. When he reached the well, there was a toad singing a loud, loud song. "What a terrible noise! Please be quiet," shouted the second son. The toad stopped singing. "Give me a piece of your corn cake, please," it croaked. "No, it's mine. I want it all," said the second son. The toad started to sing again, even louder this time. "That's enough," shouted the second son, and picking up the toad by one leg, he flung it down the well. Then he walked away and sat down by the cornfield. All night the second son sat by the field of corn, but he heard and saw nothing. In the morning more corn had been torn up and eaten, and he had to tell his father that he hadn't caught the thief. The next evening the farmer sent his youngest son to guard the corn. The son walked slowly to the field, afraid that if his 2 brothers couldn't catch the thief, he too would fail. He stopped when he heard the toad singing by the wall. "What a fine voice you have, and that's a wonderful song," he said. "Glad you like it," croaked the frog, and sang an even louder and longer song. "Will you give me a piece of your corn cake?" it croaked when it had finished. "Certainly, help yourself," said the youngest son, and he put the whole cake down in front of the toad. When the toad had gobbled up the last crumbs, it said, "Since you've been so kind, I'll tell you a secret. At the bottom of this well there's a magic emerald. It can grant wishes. You may have 3 wishes." "Thank you," said the sun. He thought for a while. "Can I have anything I like?" he asked. "Anything or anyone," croaked the toad. "Then I would like a wife," said the sun. "You'd better decide what sort of wife you'd like before you wish, and you'd better have a house for her to live in," croaked the toad. "Now lean over the well, say what you wish, and don't mumble." The sun looked down the well at the cool water. "I wish for a wife who is kind, beautiful, and a good cook, a fine house near the well, and that I catch the corn thief," he said very loudly and very clearly. "Now we must go to the field," croaked the toad. The sun picked up the toad, put it on its shoulder, and with the toad singing loudly, walked to the cornfield. The sun was just setting over the distant mountains when a huge white bird appeared in the sky. It flew down to the field and started tearing at the corn cobs. The toad hopped over it and started to sing a soft, sweet lullaby. The bird stopped eating, closed its eyes, and was soon fast asleep. "Come here," the toad croaked quietly to the sun. "This bird is really a beautiful young girl. A nasty witch turned her into a bird because she wouldn't marry the witch's horrible son. Now, take her to your father." The sun picked up the bird and the toad and carried them back to the farmhouse. "This bird is the corn robber," he said to his father. "His brothers want to kill the bird, but the youngest son said, 'No, it's mine, and I'm going to keep it.'" The next morning the youngest son carried the bird and the toad back to the well. There, by the wall, was a splendid house. At that moment the bird vanished, but the door of the house opened and a beautiful girl came running out. The son knew that this was his wife and fell in love with her at once. They were soon married and lived very happily in their new house. The old farmer came to live with them, and the 2 other sons went off to the city, never to be seen again. The toad lived by the well. "My father likes to hear your singing. You may sing whenever you like," the youngest son said to him. "Thank you," replied the toad. "I was going to anyway." So that's a nice story. Now we're going to be doing, hold on a sec. Let me just, which one I was going to be doing? Mexico? Oh yeah, Clever Asia 72. Oh, I dropped something. Sorry, I have to put the charger on because it's using a lot of battery. Okay, so 72. So, Clever Aisha, a story from Morocco. Hassan was a coppersmith who lived in the old city of Marrakesh. He was delighted when his wife gave birth to a girl. They called her Aisha. But Hassan's wife was very ill, and after a few weeks she died. Heartbroken, Hassan didn't know what to do. He went to work in the morning, leaving Aisha alone in her cradle. When he came back in the evening, the baby was still asleep in her cradle, but she'd been washed and fed up and was happy. But she'd been washed and fed and was happy. Hassan was delighted. This happened again the next day, and the one after that, but Hassan saw nobody. After a while he began to realize that the jinns, which were kind invisible spirits, were looking after his daughter for him. Aisha grew up into a very pretty girl. The jinns taught her all kinds of things, and she became wise and clever. One evening, when Aisha was 17, Hassan came home looking very miserable. "What's the matter, Papa?" Aisha asked. "The Sultan has decided to see how clever his people are," replied Hassan, holding his head in his hands. "He is asking everyone in turn a question. If they can't answer it correctly by the next day, he has their heads chopped off." If they give the right answer, he gives them a bag of gold. Today he asked me, what does the water wheel say as it turns? I can't think of an answer. Oh, Papa, that's easy, laughed Aisha. Now listen carefully, and do exactly as I tell you. She taught Hassan a rhyme, and made him say it over and over again so he wouldn't forget it. When Hassan went to the Sultan the next morning, he pretended to listen to the water wheel for a while. And then he said, I was a quince, I was a tree, Sultan was hurt, he cut down me. The Sultan was very surprised that Hassan somehow knew that many years ago, when the Sultan was walking in the garden, he had hit his head on a quince tree. He had been so angry with the tree that he had cut it down, and had the wood made into a water wheel. The Sultan was mean and didn't want to give Hassan a bag of gold for getting the answer right, so he asked him another riddle. Again Hassan went home to Aisha in despair. What shall I do? He cried. The Sultan says that I must go to the palace tomorrow, riding and walking, laughing and crying, all at the same time. How can I possibly do that? Aisha laughed. That's easy, Papa, and she told him what to do. The next morning Hassan rode to the palace on a very small donkey. It was so small that Hassan's feet were on the ground, so he was riding and walking. He knew he looked very funny, so he laughed. Aisha had given him a peeled onion, which he held to his eyes, and that made his eyes stream with tears. So he was laughing and crying at the same time. When Hassan reached the palace, he looked so funny that all the courtiers laughed. The Sultan was pleased, but he had to laugh too. No, the Sultan wasn't pleased, but he had to laugh too. Hassan, you've proven that you are clever. You've earned your bag of gold. Hassan got off his donkey and bowed very low. Sir, I'm an honest man, and I must confess that my daughter Aisha told me the answers. The Sultan frowned for a moment, then he ordered, your daughter should be given the bag of gold. Bring her to my palace. Dressed in her best clothes, Aisha walked with Hassan to the palace. Hassan was terrified, but Aisha was not in the least bit scared. She smiled at the Sultan and laughed when he growled at her. The Sultan was enchanted by the pretty, clever girl and decided to marry her. Over the years, he changed from being a cruel, bad-tempered man to the kindest Sultan his people had ever had. I think that's it, because this video is actually getting a bit long. But I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, I'll also be showing you some photos. Let me just show you some nice pictures that I think are really nice. Like this one. This is a nice photo where he is trying to get the sun. This was an African story. Yeah, this is one of my favorite. So, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my English accent one. No. I hope you have a beautiful, soundful day. Bye everyone.